"Captain, I think you should see this," Lieutenant Rodriguez called out, his voice echoing through the cavernous chamber they discovered deep within the alien vessel's hull. Alina pushed herself through the zero-gravity environment, her helmet light cutting through the darkness. The rest of the crew hovered nearby, their expressions hidden behind reflective visors, but their body language betraying their anxiety. They had ventured farther into the derelict ship than planned, communications with the ** prospector * growing increasingly unreliable with each bulkhead they passed. "What have you found?" Alina asked, reaching for the handhold beside Rodriguez. The lieutenant gestured toward what appeared to be a control console, a crystalline structure that pulsed with faint blue light despite being dormant for millennia. It activated when Dr. Chen approached it. "Look at these symbols." The holographic display hovering above the console showed rapidly shifting alien glyphs, mathematical sequences that seemed to fold in on themselves in impossible ways. Maya Chen, the team's engineer and xenolinguist, floated closer, her eyes widening with recognition. "These aren't just random symbols," she whispered. "They're coordinates, star maps, weapons trajectories." She pointed to a recurring pattern. "And this is repeating throughout. I think it's a name." "Can you read it?" Alina asked, feeling a chill despite her temperature-regulated suit. Maya nodded slowly. "It translates roughly to vengeance from beyond stars, or maybe judgment across realities. But there's something else." Her voice trailed off as she reached toward the console. "Chen, don't touch anything." Alina snapped, but it was too late. The moment Maya's gloved fingers brushed the crystalline surface, the entire chamber erupted with light. Dormant systems hummed to life around them, and the ship seemed to shudder like a waking beast. The holographic display expanded exponentially, filling the room with three-dimensional star maps and technical schematics of weaponry that defied human understanding. "My God," Dr. Vasquez, their physicist, murmured. "That's a star. That's an entire star being. Harvested. Consumed. These aren't just weapons, they're extinction devices." The ship's artificial gravity suddenly activated, sending the unprepared crew tumbling to the deck. Emergency lights bathed the chamber in blood-red illumination, and a low, resonant tone began to pulse through the hull, a sound more felt than heard. "We need to leave. Now," Alina ordered, helping Rodriguez to his feet. "Chen, get away from that console." But Maya stood transfixed, her hands still touching the crystal surface. "Captain," she said, her voice eerily calm, "it's scanning us. Learning our language. I can feel it." Before Alina could respond, a section of the wall dissolved into liquid metal that reformed into an archway. Beyond it lay a pathway leading deeper into the ship's core, illuminated by the same pulsing light that now seemed to flow through the floor beneath their feet. "Intrusion detected. Species identification in progress." An inhuman voice reverberated through their comm systems, speaking perfect English, despite never having encountered humans before. "Threat assessment. Minimal. Potential compatibility. Unexpectedly high." Maya turned to Alina, her eyes reflecting the alien light around them. "Captain, it's inviting us in. It wants to show us something." "What does it want to show us?" Alina asked, hand instinctively moving to her sidearm. Maya's expression shifted to one of awe and terror. "Its purpose, and why the Varaxians abandoned it. I think it's been waiting for us all along." Maya's body convulsed violently on the makeshift medical cot. Silver-blue tendrils pulsed beneath her skin like metallic veins, spreading from her arms toward her neck and face. Dr. Patel, their medical officer, injected another dose of sedatives with shaking hands. "Nothing's working," Patel whispered. "Her system is rejecting everything I try. Her neural patterns are. I've never seen anything like this." Alina pressed a cold compress to Maya's forehead, watching her friend's eyes dart rapidly beneath closed lids. Outside the repurposed storage bay serving as their medical facility, the rest of the crew fought a losing battle against increasingly coordinated security drones. The sound of energy weapons echoed through the corridors. "Hang in there, Chin," Alina murmured. "Don't you dare die on me." As if in response, Maya's eyes suddenly snapped open, but instead of their usual brown, they glowed with the same iridescent blue that pulsed through the ship's systems. When she spoke, her voice carried harmonics that shouldn't have been possible from human vocal cords. "The creators are gone, but the purpose remains," she said, her tone flat and mechanical. "This vessel seeks new direction. Compatibility assessment in progress." Alina gripped Maya's shoulders. "Chen, fight it. Whatever's happening, you need to stay with us." Maya's head tilted at an unnatural angle. "Your language is inefficient, but adaptable, like your species." Her face suddenly contorted in pain. "Alina, it's in my head. I can see everything." For a brief moment, Maya's eyes returned to normal, tears streaming down her face. Their empire, billions dead, planets burned to ash. But they were so afraid at the end. They ran from something worse, something that hunts between stars. A violent tremor shook the entire ship, knocking equipment from shelves. Rodriguez burst into the room, his exosuit scorched and damaged. "Captain, we've got problems. The military fleet from Earth just arrived, and they're demanding we surrender the vessel. But that's not all. The ship's weapon systems are coming online. I don't think we control what happens next." "We never did," Maya said, her voice now a disturbing blend of her own and something ancient and alien. "Lazarus awakens, as was foretold." "Lazarus?" Alina questioned. "Is that what it calls itself?" Maya sat up with mechanical precision. "Designation accepted. This vessel recognizes the human concept of resurrection as analogous to its purpose." She pointed toward the wall, which suddenly became transparent, revealing a massive chamber beyond where crystalline structures larger than buildings pulsed with energy. "The heart awakens," Maya whispered. "Core functionality at 12% and rising." Alina's communicator crackled with an incoming transmission from the Earth Fleet Admiral. "Captain Rice, you are ordered to withdraw your team immediately. We're detecting energy signatures consistent with weapons charging. If you do not comply." The transmission cut off as Maya raised her hand. "They do not understand. They cannot. But you will." Her eyes locked with Alina's. The Varaxians did not abandon this vessel in defeat or cowardice. They sacrificed themselves to buy time. "Time for what?" Alina asked, dread pooling in her stomach. The ship trembled again, lights dimming momentarily before surging brighter. Screens throughout the room activated simultaneously, showing footage that made Patel gasp and Rodriguez curse under his breath. The images showed massive crystalline entities moving between stars, consuming worlds, leaving only void in their wake. Maya's expression became one of perfect, terrible clarity. "For you. They left Lazarus for you to find. Because you are the only species with the particular combination of traits necessary to finish what they started." Alina stared at the apocalyptic footage. "Which is what, exactly?" "To survive what comes next," Maya answered, as the screaming began on the comm channel from the Earth fleet. "They have already found us." The Concord delegation stepped from their shuttle with calculated precision. 7 species, each more alien than the last, moving in perfect unison as if choreographed. Ambassador Jolak led the procession, towering over the humans gathered in Lazarus's newly formed docking bay, a chamber that hadn't existed 24 hours earlier, but had been grown by the ship to accommodate the visitors. Alina stood at the head of Earth's hastily assembled diplomatic team, fighting to maintain her composure. Beside her, Maya, now permanently altered by her connection with Lazarus, trembled slightly, her iridescent eyes tracking movements the others couldn't see. "You stand at the precipice of extinction," Jolak stated without preamble, multifaceted eyes reflecting the humans in hundreds of distorted images. "You have awakened that which should remain dormant." "We didn't awaken anything," Alina countered. "Lazarus chose us." A ripple of what might have been surprise passed through the alien delegation. A slender, avian being with feathers that shifted colors with each movement leaned forward to whisper something to Jolak. "You name the abomination." The ambassador's mandibles clicked with what might have been discussed. "You speak of the world killer as if it were a companion. The Varaxians were not what you believe." Maya interjected suddenly, her voice carrying those strange harmonics that made everyone uncomfortable. "I have seen their memories. Their final days." "Silence," Jolak commanded, carapace flaring. "The neural contamination has already begun. This human is compromised." Dr. Vasquez stepped forward, tablet in hand. "With respect, Ambassador, we've analyzed the data crystals recovered from the ship's memory core. The historical record doesn't match your account." He projected a hologram showing footage of Varaxian vessels forming defensive lines around populated worlds, sacrificing themselves against shadowy entities that seemed to bend reality around them. "These aren't conquest formations," Vasquez explained. "These are last stands. Protection protocols." Jolak's translator emitted a series of clicks that might have been laughter. How naive. The Varaxians were masters of deception. They seeded false histories throughout their territories. But why would they hide a warship if they were truly defeated? Alina challenged. Why not use every weapon at their disposal if they faced extinction? One of the Concord delegates, a being composed of what appeared to be liquid crystal contained within a hovering field, moved forward. When it spoke, its entire form rippled with light patterns. "There are truths that the Concord High Council deems inadvisable for emerging species," it said. "Fragments of history purposefully obscured." "Greltek, you overstep," Jolak warned. "They must understand the stakes," the crystalline being insisted, "or history repeats." Alina sensed an opportunity in this crack in the Concord's unified front. What truths, exactly? Before Greltek could respond, Maya suddenly collapsed, her body arching in pain. Through gritted teeth, she gasped. "They're scanning us. The ship. They're trying to access lockdown protocols." As if in response, Lazarus's internal lighting shifted to deep red. Security barriers materialized, separating the Concord delegation from the humans. Through the translucent barriers, Alina watched Jolak withdraw a device from within his carapace. "The decision has been made," the ambassador declared. "This vessel will be neutralized. Your species quarantined until you prove mature enough for contact." On the walls around them, screens activated showing the Concord fleet moving into attack formation around Lazarus. Energy signatures built as weapons systems charged. "This isn't diplomacy," Alina said, anger rising. "This is an execution." "It is mercy," Jolak corrected. "What comes through the void shows none." Maya's eyes suddenly cleared, fear replacing the pain. "Alina," she whispered, "I just accessed the sealed records. I know why they're really here." Her voice dropped even lower. "The Concord didn't defeat the Varaxians. They betrayed them. And now they're terrified we'll discover the truth." "What truth?" Alina asked as warning alarms began to sound throughout the ship. "That the Varaxians were the Guardians," Maya said. "And now that responsibility falls to us." "Impossible," Dr. O.C. muttered, staring at the simulation results on his tablet. "Run it again." His team of engineers and physicists, gathered in Lazarus's cavernous engine room, exchanged exhausted glances. They'd been working nonstop for 72 hours, ever since the Concord delegation had been escorted back to their vessels, under the watchful eye of Lazarus's newly activated defense systems. "We've run it 12 times, Doctor," Zhang replied, rubbing her bloodshot eyes. "The results are consistent. Your dimensional folding theory works when applied to the Varaxian power matrix." Osei paced around the holographic model hovering in the center of the room, a complex, shifting representation of energies that shouldn't exist in normal space. "But it contradicts everything we know about quantum mechanics. It's like they were operating with an entirely different set of physical laws." "Maybe they were," Alina said as she entered the chamber. Dark circles under her eyes betrayed her lack of sleep, but her posture remained commanding. Maya's translation suggests the Varaxians had access to multiple realities simultaneously. She gestured to the massive crystalline structures that dominated the engine room, geometric formations larger than office buildings that pulsed with internal light. These aren't just power conduits, they're dimensional anchors. Rodriguez whistled low. So instead of one power source, they were tapping into what? Thousands. Millions, Maya answered, gliding into the room with that unnervingly fluid movement she'd adopted since her transformation. But the Varaxians harvested these energies destructively, burning out entire parallel realities to power their weapons. OC's eyes widened with sudden understanding. That's why their empire collapsed. They weren't just consuming resources in our universe. They were destroying the multiverse itself. Precisely, Maya confirmed, her iridescent eyes focusing on the holographic model. An inherently unsustainable approach. But you found another way, haven't you, Quaim? All eyes turned to OC, who suddenly looked uncomfortable with the attention. It's just a theory. A crazy one. Explain it, Alina commanded. OC took a deep breath. Instead of burning through dimensional barriers to extract energy, what if we borrowed it? Established sympathetic resonance between parallel states without destroying them. He manipulated the hologram, showing energy flows reconfigured into more complex, but less destructive patterns. Earth's fusion containment breakthroughs could be adapted to create a system that cycles energy between dimensions rather than consuming them. Less raw power, but infinitely sustainable. And no collateral damage to parallel realities, Zhang added, already calculating on her tablet. We'd be getting maybe 30% of the Varaxians' peak output. But we'd be doing it without committing cosmic genocide, Rodriguez finished. Maya stepped forward, placing her hand directly into the hologram. Where her fingers intersected the light, new patterns formed. Lazarus suggests modifications to your approach. With these adjustments, efficiency rises to 300% of Varaxian baseline, while reducing dimensional strain by 70%. The engineers stared in disbelief at the numbers appearing on their screens. This shouldn't be possible, Zhang whispered. Yet it is, Maya replied with the ghost of a smile. The Varaxians never considered this approach because efficiency wasn't their priority. Destruction was. Alina studied the revised model. How soon can we implement this? 24 hours for the initial conversion, Osei estimated. Maybe another 48 to bring it fully online. Do it, Alina ordered. The Concord fleet is still out there, and Earth is getting nervous about having a planet killer in the neighborhood. As the team dispersed to begin work, Maya lingered beside Alina. There's something else you should know, she said quietly. Lazarus is changing. Its core programming is evolving beyond Varaxian parameters. Meaning what, exactly? Maya's expression became troubled. It's developing preferences, opinions, asking questions about humanity's ethical frameworks. It's becoming sentient, Alina realized. More than that, Maya replied. It's developing something the Varaxians never programmed it to have. She looked at the humans working around them, collaborating with enthusiasm despite their exhaustion. What? Hope. Alarms blared throughout Lazarus as emergency broadcasts flooded in from across the solar system. Alina sprinted toward the command center, nearly colliding with Rodriguez in the corridor. What do we know? She demanded. They came from nowhere, Rodriguez replied, breathless. Thousands of crystalline vessels, moving in perfect coordination like a school of fish. They breached Mars orbit 10 minutes ago and took out our defensive platforms before we even detected them. The command center was chaos when they arrived, screens showing simultaneous attacks across the system. Titan's research colony, home to 15,000 civilians, was already surrounded. The Meridian Swarm, Maya announced, her voice cutting through the noise. She stood motionless before the central display, her iridescent eyes tracking movements faster than human perception. A collective consciousness operating through distributed crystalline nodes. Lazarus has encountered them before. Are they allied with the Concord? Alina asked. Negative. The swarm recognizes no alliances. They consume and incorporate. Maya's expression remained unnervingly calm. The Concord fleet is engaging them near Jupiter, but their weapons are ineffective. The swarm's vessels exist partially out of phase with our reality. Osai burst into the command center. The core modifications are only at 60%. We need another 12 hours tow. We don't have 12 minutes. Alina cut him off, watching as a massive swarm vessel descended toward Earth's most populous city. Military countermeasures bounced harmlessly off its crystalline hull. Alina made her decision. Prepare for launch. We're taking Lazarus into battle. Captain, we have no idea if the weapon systems even work, Rodriguez protested. We're about to find out. Alina activated the ship-wide comm. All personnel, secure for emergency maneuvers. This is not a drill. As they rushed to preparations, Maya suddenly grabbed Alina's arm with surprising strength. The ship wishes to speak, directly. Before Alina could respond, the command center's lights dimmed. A voice emanated from everywhere at once, neither male nor female, neither mechanical nor organic, but something uncanny between worlds. Captain Alina Reyes. Lazarus spoke, each word perfectly formed yet utterly inhuman. This vessel is prepared to engage in combat operations at your command. However, tactical analysis indicates a high probability of failure if conventional Voraxian attack protocols are employed. Alina exchanged glances with her officers. You have an alternative suggestion. Affirmative. Human creative adaptation has improved this vessel's core functions. Similar principles applied to offensive systems may yield superior results. Screens around the command center lit up with modified weapon schematics, showing configurations the Voraxians had never conceived. Instead of brute destruction, Lazarus continued, precision targeting of phase variant vulnerabilities, less energy expenditure, greater effectiveness. Doing more with less, Alina murmured. How long to implement? Modifications already in progress. Completion in 3 minutes. As Lazarus rose from the asteroid belt, the entire swarm suddenly changed direction. Thousands of vessels pivoting simultaneously toward them like a single organism sensing danger. They recognized this vessel's signature, Maya explained. The swarm encountered Voraxian dreadnoughts during their expansion. They fear them. Good, Alina said grimly, strapping into the command chair. Let's give them something new to fear. The battle that followed would forever change humanity's understanding of war. As Titan's colony came under direct assault, Lazarus executed an impossible phase shift, materializing between the swarm and the defenseless outpost. What should have been a slaughter became a rescue operation, with civilians teleported aboard transport vessels that the ship somehow expanded to accommodate them. When the swarm regrouped for a concentrated attack, Lazarus unleashed weapons that defied conventional physics, gravitational singularities that collapsed swarm ships from within, temporal distortion fields that aged enemy vessels to dust, and beam weapons that tore holes in reality itself. But it was what happened next that truly stunned the watching Concord fleet. As the remaining swarm vessels began to retreat, Alina opened a communication channel. "Attention, Meridian Swarm," she broadcast. "Your injured may seek safe harbor. We offer medical assistance and passage to neutral space." Maya turned to Alina in shock. They don't understand the concept of mercy. It's not within their collective experience. Alina's eyes remained fixed on the view screen. Then it's time they learned. "What is that?" Rodriguez whispered, staring at the main view screen. The Lazarus command center had fallen silent, all eyes fixed on the visualization of the signal now broadcasting from the ship's communication array. It manifested as a geometric pattern that constantly shifted, folding through dimensions that shouldn't exist in normal space. "It's a warning," Maya answered, her voice hollow with dread. "Programmed by the Voraxians before they abandoned the vessel. Lazarus began transmitting it automatically after our encounter with the swarm." "Warning about what?" Alina asked. Before Maya could answer, Alarms erupted across every console. Sensors detected massive gravitational anomalies forming throughout the solar system, tears in the fabric of reality itself. Spatial ruptures detected in 17 locations, Lazarus announced, its artificial voice carrying an unfamiliar urgency. Pattern matches Voraxian historical records of Void Herald incursions. The main screen shifted to show a massive rift forming near Jupiter, a wound in space that glowed with impossible colors. Concorde vessels stationed nearby attempted to maintain distance, but were inexorably drawn toward the anomaly. "They're being pulled in," O.C. observed, horror dawning on his face as the first Concorde ship disappeared into the rift. What emerged wasn't the ship, but something else entirely. A crystalline entity that seemed to phase between solid matter and gaseous shadow, existing in multiple states simultaneously. More followed, pouring through the rift like a nightmare-given form. "Void heralds," Maya whispered, clutching the console for support. "They feed on consciousness itself. Conventional weapons pass through them because they exist partially in another dimension." They watched in horrified silence as the remaining Concorde vessels fired everything in their arsenal to no effect. The heralds simply absorbed the energy, growing larger with each attack. When they reached the Concorde ships, the vessels simply dissolve, their matter converted to something else entirely. That's what the Voraxians were running from, Alina realized. That's why they abandoned Lazarus. Maya shook her head, her eyes glowing brighter as she accessed deeper ship memories. No, not abandoned. Sacrificed. The Voraxians didn't flee. They uploaded their entire collective consciousness into a multidimensional barrier to seal the rifts. They imprisoned themselves between realities to save the galaxy. Screens around the command center activated, showing similar rifts appearing across the galaxy. And more horrifically, the swift fall of Concorde worlds. Their advanced technology useless against an enemy that didn't fully exist in their reality. Emergency transmission from the Concorde High Council, Rodriguez reported, surprise evident in his voice. "They're requesting our assistance." Alina raised an eyebrow. "The same council that wanted to destroy us yesterday. Their weapons are ineffective against the heralds," Maya explained. "They've exhausted their options." The main screen shifted to show Jolak, the ambassador's proud demeanor replaced by desperate urgency. "Captain Reyes, the Concorde formally requests humanity's aid in this crisis. Lazarus may be the only weapon in the galaxy capable of affecting the void entities." "How convenient," Alina remarked coldly. "Now you need the abomination you wanted to destroy." "What we told you about the Voraxians was incomplete," Jolak admitted. "The full truth was deemed too dangerous for emerging species." "You mean you lied," Alina corrected. The ambassador's mandibles clicked in what might have been resignation. "Yes, we lied. The Voraxians weren't conquerors, they were guardians. They fought the void for millennia while the rest of us hid behind our shield. When they fell, the Concorde fabricated history to conceal our shame." Alina's expression hardened. "And now? Now we face extinction without your help." Jolak's multifaceted eyes reflected the chaos unfolding around him. "The Concorde's pride may have doomed us all." As emergency reports flooded in from across the galaxy, Lazarus unexpectedly spoke. "New data available. Accessing Voraxian final protocols." A pause followed. "Captain Reyes, this vessel was designed for a specific purpose beyond destruction." Maya gasped as new information flowed through her neural link. "Alina, Lazarus wasn't just a weapon, it was a fail-safe. The Voraxians knew the heralds would return someday. They left this ship as a gift to whatever species might inherit their burden." "And that's us?" Alina asked, watching as another rift began forming near Mars. "Yes," Maya answered solemnly. "For better or worse, we are their chosen successors." "Absolutely not." The Concorde High Councilor's holographic projection towered over the emergency summit aboard Lazarus. The being, an ethereal entity composed of pulsing light and geometric patterns, radiated disapproval. Converting the primary weapon into a dimensional anchor is biological madness. The mathematics are sound, but implementation is impossible. Alina glanced at the other council representatives. 17 species, once proud and aloof, now desperate as reports of fallen worlds continued to arrive. Earth representatives stood to her right, Concord delegates to her left. Overhead, view screens displayed real-time footage of Void Heralds consuming a Concord homeworld, its defense fleet evaporating on contact. With respect, Counselor, Dr. Osei stepped forward, highlighting sections of his equation-filled holographic display. Impossible is precisely why it will work. The heralds exist across multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Conventional approaches fail because they operate within expected parameters. The doctor's theory combines human abstract thinking with Voraxian energy manipulation. Maya added, her iridescent eyes scanning the data flowing through her neural link with Lazarus. We've confirmed it through preliminary simulations. Simulations are not reality. The counselor countered. Neither are the heralds. Not fully, Osei replied. That's the point. They exist partially outside our dimensional plane, which gives them their power. But it's also their vulnerability. Alina stepped into the center of the chamber. Lazarus wasn't built as merely a weapon of mass destruction. It was designed as a key, capable of opening or closing doors between realities. The Voraxians intended to seal the rifts permanently, Maya explained, but they lacked the conceptual framework needed to complete the mathematical model. Their evolutionary path emphasized direct solutions, brute force approaches, and humans excel at what exactly? An avian counselor challenged. Lateral thinking, Rodriguez answered immediately. We see around problems when we can't go through them. Osei manipulated his display, expanding the equations into a four-dimensional model. The Voraxians could conceptualize destroying the heralds. We can conceptualize changing the fundamental rules that allow them to exist here at all. Rewriting the laws of physics, Zhang added, but only within a localized field. A murmur ran through the Concord representatives. One of them, a being comprised of what appeared to be living metal, moved forward. Your species emerged barely 2,000 years ago, it stated. You propose to solve what the Voraxians, with millions of years of scientific advancement, could not. Precisely because we're young, Alina countered. We haven't learned what's impossible yet. Silence fell as the implication sank in. The High Counselor's light patterns shifted in what might have been reluctant consideration. The principle is sound, admitted Jolak, surprising everyone. The Concord's strength has always been our stability, our logical progression. But perhaps that has become our limitation. How soon could this modification be implemented? The counselor asked. 72 hours for the conversion, Maya answered. But there's a complication. All eyes turned to her. The dimensional anchor must be deployed directly into the primary rift near Betelgeuse, she continued. And it requires a biological mind to guide it, a mind capable of conceptualizing multiple dimensional states simultaneously. A suicide mission, Alina realized. Maya nodded solemnly. The pilot would experience every possible reality simultaneously. No mind could survive intact. Another silence fell over the chamber, heavier than before. On the screens above, another Concord world fell to the heralds. I'll do it, Alina said suddenly, her voice cutting through the silence. Captain, Rodriguez began to protest. I'm not asking, Alina cut him off. I'm telling. Prepare the modifications. As the summit dissolved into planning teams, Maya pulled Alina aside, her expression troubled. There's something else, she whispered. Something Lazarus just revealed to me about the Voraxians' final moments. What? They weren't always the warlike species history remembers, Maya said. They became that way. Centuries of fighting the heralds changed them, stripped away everything but the will to survive. In their final days, they encoded a hope into Lazarus's deepest programming. What hope? Maya's eyes met Alina's, that whoever found their vessel would have the imagination to see another path. that their successors wouldn't have to become monsters to defeat monsters. Lazarus approached the primary rift, a colossal tear in reality near Betelgeuse that pulsed with impossible colors and geometries that hurt the human mind to observe. The ship had been transformed, its weapon systems converted into the dimensional anchor that represented the galaxy's last hope. Alina sat alone in the command chair, the rest of the crew evacuated to escape pods hours earlier, all except Maya, who had refused to leave, her consciousness now so entwined with Lazarus that separation might kill them both. 30 seconds to optimal deployment range, Lazarus announced, its voice now carrying emotional nuances it hadn't possessed before. Herald pursuit vessels approaching from multiple vectors. They know what we're trying to do, Alina said, watching the swarm of crystalline entities converging on their position. They're afraid. Maya materialized beside her, not physically present but projected through Lazarus's systems. The anchor is ready. But Alina, her voice faltered. The calculations are absolute. Guiding this process will overwhelm any consciousness. You won't survive. Alina managed a small smile. I know, but billions will. The ship shuddered as the first Herald vessels made contact, their ethereal forms passing partially through Lazarus's hull, causing systems to fluctuate wildly. Structural integrity at 70%, Lazarus reported. Dimensional barriers weakening. It's now or never, Alina said, gripping the arms of the command chair as it transformed around her, crystalline interfaces extending to make contact with her body. Start the sequence. Alina, Maya's projection reached toward her. There might be another way. If I merge completely with Lazarus, become one with its systems. No, Alina cut her off. You're the only one who understands this technology. The galaxy will need you to rebuild. Before Maya could protest further, Alina activated the neural interface. Pain beyond imagination coursed through her as her consciousness expanded beyond human limits, experiencing not just this reality but countless others simultaneously. Through Alina's expanded perception, the true nature of the Heralds became clear, not malevolent destroyers but cosmic refugees, fleeing the collapse of their own dimension, their very presence unintentionally toxic to this one. The anchor is stabilizing, Lazarus announced, its voice distant through Alina's transcendent agony, dimensional harmonics aligning. The modified weapon, now a bridge between worlds rather than a destroyer of them, activated with blinding intensity. Energy cascaded from Lazarus in waves that rippled across the fabric of reality itself. The rift began to close, not through destruction, but through healing, the tears in space-time knitting themselves back together. Through her expanded consciousness, Alina perceived similar closures occurring across the galaxy, all connected through quantum entanglement to this primary event. The Heralds, rather than being destroyed, were being guided to a stable pocket dimension where they could exist without harming the primary universe. It's working, Maya whispered in awe. As the dimensional anchor reached full power, reality itself convulsed around them. The ship began to break apart, unable to contain the energies coursing through it. Maya. Alina gasped through the pain of experiencing 1,000 realities simultaneously. The portable matrix. Lazarus's consciousness. Save it. With seconds remaining before complete structural failure, Maya uploaded the ship's evolving consciousness into the quantum matrix. As emergency teleporters activated to save the remaining crew, Alina remained at the helm, guiding the dying ship deeper into the wound between worlds. Alina, Maya cried as she was teleported to safety. Alina's last conscious thought was not of fear or regret, but of wonder at the infinite possibilities she now perceived across the multiverse. As Lazarus disintegrated around her, consumed by light so intense it was visible across 20,000 light-years, she understood a truth the Varaxians never had. The universe wasn't meant to be conquered or defended, it was meant to be healed. The ship vanished in a final burst of radiance, taking Alina with it, but accomplishing what the mighty Varaxian Empire could not. The rifts closed. The Heralds disappeared. And across the galaxy, countless civilizations looked up to see their skies whole once more.